morning, everybody. It's Kathy Champion with Random Acts of Crafting, and welcome back to my craft frame. I'm bringing you a box card today, and I had been working on this. As some of you know, I had surgery about a week and a half ago, so it's taken me a little bit to get back into the swing of things, and I do apologize for not putting up some videos with some content. But nevertheless, I did work on this box card, and these box cards are so pretty, and I'm hoping that the camera is grasping exactly what this is. But I made this one as a happy birthday. I have a really cute little happy birthday sentiment here, and I'm sure that your first question is, oh, that's a great looking card, but how do you mail it? Well, this card will fold. Sometimes you can fold these up, but I have the butterflies that are bigger, so I would not do that for the fact I'd be afraid I would bend the butterflies. So what I would do in mailing this card is I would lay it flat. This one does measure like 6 by 7. So if you made a custom envelope, if you have the envelope punch board, you can make a envelope that this will fit in. And like I said, it does fold flat. And here's the back of it. And on the back I do have this pretty flower. So I could have put another butterfly, but I just wanted something different to show where the back of it was. But this is a great piece to give someone. They're usually very impressed with it when they get it. I have done these so many times. But what I wanted to bring to you is this one I did with birds and flowers and butterflies. But this card is so versatile. You can make this anything that you want it to be. I'm actually thinking maybe a fall scene, maybe a little barn and some pumpkins and happy fall, y'all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with some of my fall stamps. Okay, sorry I had a little interruption. I had a phone call. But as I was saying, this paper pack, I got pumpkin spice, and I did get it at Tuesday morning. And I have chosen the paper that I want to use for my card base. And I think it's going to be this piece right here. I think the pumpkins, the wagon, any of the browns and oranges are going to look really good next to this. So I am going, well, you know what? Maybe I need to rethink that. Maybe I need to rethink it. The reason I'm rethinking it is because when I fold my flaps down, it's going to show the other side of the paper. So maybe we'll do this one. This one is very pretty. It's the same color, and on the back side there's a pretty yellow. So I think we're going to go with that one. There's always a thought process in choosing your paper, so always kind of think and look at the other side if you're working with two-sided paper. If this had been one-sided, I would not have worried, because I could have matted the other with whatever's left over from this. But what I'm going to do first here is I've stamped, colored, and cut a bunch of my embellishments, and I have them over to the side because I do want this to be a fall card. And as we get to going, I'll show you what I picked out and the stamp sets that I used. I used a couple of stamp sets from Maymay Made It, and I also used a couple of stamp sets from Tracy and Bill Phillips from mindlesscrafting.com. They have a store, and Tracy now has her own stamps. I guess let me show you her stamp sets real quick. I used some of these. I did use this barn. I used these leaves. I used the rake and the squirrel. That's what I used off of her stamp sets. And then on Maymay's stamp sets, this one is called Thankful Thoughts. I used these pumpkins. I think I used this one and the smaller one. And then I also used Maymay's stamp that's called Apple of My Eye, and I used the basket of apples and the little signposts with apples you pick. and I stamped that inside, and I'll show you all that in a little bit. But what I want to do first is I want to walk you through making the base of this card, because if you learn the simple basics of making this card, everything else is going to be very simple. So what you're going to need for this card is a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. So we're going to cut this in half, and because it is dimensional because it has the writing going this way, we're going to cut it at 6 inches this way. And the reason for that is I want the writing to show in the right orientation when I score the card. And you'll understand this a little bit better. If you were working with just this other side, it would not matter which way the writing went or which way the pattern paper went, but under the circumstances it does. So one 12 by 12 sheet can get you 2 of these card bases. So I'm going to start off, and we are going to need to do some scoring. Your scoring and your cutting is crucial in making this card. So we're going to start out on the 12-inch side, and let me get my score tool. Why is your tools never where you need them when you need them? It never fails to be that way. What you're going to do first on this 12-inch side, you're going to make these score marks at, let me grab my glasses. And again, I do want to say this. This We Are Memory scoreboard is wonderful because, I don't know if you can see this, but it has your measurements in the 1/8 increments, which makes scoring so easy. But I plan on doing a tutorial to show you how to mark your paper trimmer and your scoreboard in case you don't have these. I'm actually going to make a piece of paper that you can actually print out, and it will have those increments on it, so it will make it easy for people that struggle. But we're going to start out at 2 7/8. So 7/8 is the last one before the 3. So we're going to score at 2 7/8. And then we're going to score at 5 3/4, and this is an easy one. Most people knows where the 3/4 is. And then 8 5/8. Now 5/8 is always one past the 1/2 inch. So 5/8, 5 5/8. Oh, 8 5/8. I'm so sorry. 8 5/8. And then we are going to score at 11 1/2. Oops. Okay, now what we want to do, which will keep our paper from splitting, is we want to flip it and then rotate it. Put it back in the scoreboard now on the 6-inch side, and we're going to score at 3 1/2. And this is all the scoring that you need to do. But now while it's still in the scoreboard, you notice you've got a bigger side to the left and a smaller side to the right. This side right here is where we're going to be doing our cutting. So make note of that if you are a little challenged with direction. Just make sure that you're not cutting this side, but you're cutting this side. And there's a reason for that. So I'm going to lay my scoreboard over, and I'm just going to work with my little cutter bee scissors. And what we're going to do first is this little piece right here, and I'm going to put an X on it so you can see. Let's see if I can find a pen. I guess this will work. We're going to put a little X right there because that is going to be cut away. And then we're going to cut here and here and here. And I'm just doing that very faintly because I do not want that pink to show on my card, but I did want y'all to see where we're going to be cutting. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go right into that score line, down to the next score line, and then cut this piece completely away, just like so. And now we're going to go down this score line until we get to the next score line. And then we're going to take just a little wedge out of here. And I'm going to do just a tiny bit on this side. Like so. And I'm going to even this up just slightly. What this is going to allow for your card, what flips over, to flip very easily. So you just want to cut these, just kind of wedge it out a little bit. So let's go down this one. And then cut just a wedge. And I am going to try to get that mark off. And there's your little pieces. I think I'm going to do this one too, just like I did the other one. Just taking a bare scant off of it so that you just have that room for it to fold down without hitting. Might help if I lay this down. Then we're going to do the same thing here. Again, we're going to wedge this out just a hair. Alright, and we can get rid of this little scrappy stuff because this is definitely not keeper. And now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and get our folds like we're going to need them. So we're going to fold this in. This is where I would definitely grab my bone folder, and I am forever losing my Teflon bone folder. It's like every time I have it to use, I stick it back up here. Evidently I'm not sticking it back in the correct slot, or it's somewhere else hiding out on my desk. Here it is. Okay. I do like this Teflon bone folder. So we're going to fold these, and I am folding them in the direction that I want this card to lay. So fold, and I am working diligently to try to stay in this little center area of my work surface. My husband centered my camera up again, but it seems like it had some give in it, and it does cause it to move when I reach up to change the battery, or when I reach up to turn it on and off. So he kind of got it locked into place for me a little bit better. So hopefully that's going to help me stay in camera frame. So y'all can see what I'm doing. That has definitely been a challenge of mine since I started my channel. So let me know in the comments if I'm doing better, and hopefully I am. And I really hope that y'all are going to enjoy the making of this card, because like I told you earlier, that once you get this card, the basis of this card, which is this right here, this is the basis of your card. Once you get this down, you can do so many things with this little box card. It doesn't look like much. You can see it's just that half a sheet of paper, a few trims and cuts, but I'm going to lay this out because this is what you should have. Let's turn it over on the right side. This is what you should have when you have done all your folding and your trimming. So what we're going to do now, before we actually decide to put this card together, it's much easier to mat it or anything that you need to do to it like this than it is to put it together and it's in a box form. So if you're going to do any decorating, if you're going to put anything on this part, if you're going to put anything under here on this part, like the mats that I put on this one, it does much better if it's laying flat and you can mat it while it's laying flat than it does to put it together and then try to mat it. I hope that makes sense to you. But also, even these flaps, decorating them and matting them, it's so much easier to do that with it laying flat. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my corner rounder, and on the 1/2 inch side I am going to round these flaps. These are the flaps that are going to fold down, and I don't know why they just look so much more appealing if they are rounded. Now, when you're dealing with this crocodile, it is very easy not to get your corners rounded perfectly. If you do not put this thing in there just right, it will give you a bad corner every time. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to try putting that under and see if we can get that centered up in there, just like so. And that did really good. And just go ahead and round your corners of each one of these, like so. So there, those are rounded off now, and they look really nice and neat. What we're going to do now is we are going to work on, like I said, at this point you want to put some strips inside. Now for me, it doesn't matter because these strips are not going to be seen unless you're looking down into the card. But I'm going to look over here and see if I have some little strips. How about in my, let's look in my little scrap box that I've got right here beside me. I don't want to cut. I could cut the piece that, the other half of this piece, but that will make another card, so I really don't want to cut that piece up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into my scraps, and I'm going to find something that is, I won't say it has to color coordinate, but I just want something that is kind of a muted color. And you know what? I think this piece of craft would be perfect for that. So I am going to cut some strips that are 3/4 of an inch by 3. Sorry for that little hiccup, but yes, my battery stopped working, so I had to change batteries in my camera, and we are back. As I was saying, we need to cut some strips that's going to hold all of our little goodies inside. And if you look inside of this one, you can see the little white strips that are glued in. They hold all of your pretties. And that's exactly what these strips are going to be. And they need to be 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to use this side of my cutting, my trimmer, my paper trimmer, and I am going to cut, I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 of these, because if I don't use them here, I can use them on another card. And this is what you want to do. You want to use something that's kind of neutral like this, or a black. If you're dealing with a lighter colored card, you can use a white one. We always have lots of extra white scraps, or at least I do. So let's lay this over here. And now we want to cut these at 3 7/8, so almost 4 inches. So we're going to go to 3, and this would be 7/8 right there, just before the 4. So we need 3 of these. So there's 1 and 2. And did we make it? Nope, we didn't. So I'm glad I cut the other strip. We need 1 more off of this one. Okay, 3 7/8. And I will put these measurements for the strips and for the card and the score marks and everything in there. This card is not something you really have to have a lot of measurements for. Once you get the bases of this and your strips, everything else is pretty much at your discretion of how you want to decorate your card and make it yours, because it's a very it's a dynamic card that's really not that hard to make. So I really hope that a lot of you that are watching will give this card a try. And if you do make it, I would love to see your finished product. So what we're going to do with these is we're going to score. Now, we could come over here and measure a 1/2 inch from 3 7/8. I'm not going to do that. I like to make measuring simple. So I'm going to measure them both at a 1/2, because it's a 1/2 inch on each side. So I'll just turn it and do the 1/2 again. For me, that's easier than trying to count back from 3 7/8 to a 1/2. I mean, it's just the way my brain works. But hey, if you want to do it that way, it just needs to be a 1/2 inch on each side. Please feel free to do it your way. That's what I always tell everybody with crafting. It's your craft. Make it yours. Do it your way, because that's what makes your craft items unique and you. It's just like I said, you know, people that will hopefully make this card, can make it in so many different ways, and I just can't wait to see your creativity and what you bring to the table with this particular card, because I think it's just so cute. So what we're going to do now, and I usually get confused on this part of it, so just bear with me a minute. Yep. Okay, we're going to come down to about here. We are going to bend these back like so. And we are going to put the first one down about 1/2 inch in, like so. And I want to make sure I'm going the right direction, so again, bear with me. Let's see if this will go like this. Yes, that is right. Okay, so we're going to come in about here. And you can measure if you want to, but what I do is I just kind of eyeball about 1/2 inch right there, about 1/2 inch down, and try to get them as straight as you can. And I like to use adhesive on these. You can use just glue, but I find that my sticky tape or any type of two-sided tape works really good for these little pieces. And what I do is I just put one strip of tape down like this, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on both sides. Again, I hope I am working in frame, because I really am trying to do this and work in frame for everybody. So I'm going to turn it this way, because for me that just makes it easier to get my tape on it. And this doesn't have to be straight, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be on there. So bend those back and then lay it out and just put your sticky tape down. Now I'm also, because this is the part of your box that's might get a little bit of stress on it, so I will probably put a tiny dab of art glitter glue on it as well, just for good measure. I feel like that when you are putting this much work into a card, you want it to last. Now I always do this with my sticky tape, because for me I think this gives me a much better adhesion if I just kind of varnish it down. And then using my trusty little, I don't know what's happened with my tools. They're probably right here on my desk, because I was so busy this morning trying to get all of the little oh, it's sticking right there in front of me. How about that? I'm dealing with my foot in a cast and not being able to put any weight on it. I am finding that even my crafting becomes a little more difficult, because I can't get up and just run around and grab what I need. It's quite a struggle to move around. I'm not going to take it off of the other side. I'm only going to take it off of one side. And I will show you the method to my madness as soon as I get these down. Now I'm going to lay these right outside of camera shot just for a second. I think they're out of camera shot, but then I'm not sure. I don't have a monitor. My camera is an older it's an older digital camera that I'm using, and it doesn't allow me to stream it to a television screen or a computer screen. So what I'm going to do now is I am just going to take these and bend that piece back, and I am going to come down here about 1/2 inch, and I am going to adhere. I said I was going to put glue on it and I didn't. That's okay. That's all right. We are going to go with it like this, and then we're going to just lay that back. We're going to lay the other one right up against that one. Yeah. Or maybe just a hair back. Like so. And let's go ahead and varnish that down. And then we're going to grab that last one. And we're going to do the same thing. We are going to put it about here. And we're going to varnish it down. And you know what? I put my sticky tape on the wrong side of these. Okay, we're not going to see, like I said, mistakes happen. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. It's okay. It's crafting. We're still having fun. That tape is going to live right there as long as I don't take the backing off of it. It's not going to hurt a thing. So when you're doing yours, you may want to put it down and then add your tape after you lay it flat, because your tape needs to be showing up right here in order for it to be in the placement that it needs to be when you fold this over. And you will see that in just a moment. Now, because I am not planning on decorating, or I should say not decorating, but not adding mats to this one, we're not going to have to cut mats or anything to go on the outside. We are going to actually be gluing down some other items. So when you lay this out like this and you take your sticky tape or your backing off of your sticky tape, this card becomes so easy to put together. And if you've done any box cards, you probably already know this procedure, but I think it's just the neatest thing when you lay these out like this and you fold this over. And you know what? I'm going to have to trim that piece because it's over top. That's one thing you want to make sure, is that this piece does not fall into that score line right there. So not a big deal. I'm just going to trim that off about like that. And now it should be fine. Lay these and hold them with your hand. And then all you want to do is fold this completely over top and just mash it down. Now when you finish, you are going to have all of your little places in here for your pretties to go. Just like so. And then the only thing you're going to have to do is you're going to need to put your card together right here. And what I like to do on this piece is I like this to be the front of my card, because this way, this seam is showing this way and you don't see it back here or on the side. But that's totally up to you. Now for this one, I am going to use some art glitter glue. You could use sticky tape here. I'll tell you what, let's do sticky tape since we've got sticky tape. What I would do is I would run it as close to the edge as you can, like so. And again, you can use your art glitter glue here. It is totally up to you. I do love my sticky tape for putting 3D projects together. I think it works good. Score tape, sticky tape. There's all different brands of this out there, but whichever one that you like to use, I think this is just a wonderful way to put these projects together. Now I am going to bend that back a little bit like that, and I am going to try to make sure that when I put this together, because the sticky tape doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room. So I am going to try to make sure that I get this as even as I possibly can. Sorry, I'm taking it off camera just for a second so that I can make sure that I am getting this lined up like it needs to be. And a good way to do that, if you see what I did, I folded those back. And if you want to match that edge right there first, and then take your fingers and press it down. That seems to work for me. So there, the hardest part of this is done. There's your box card. And now the fun comes in because we're going to decorate it. And that's always a fun thing to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull out our embellishments and we'll be right back. I decided at this point to go ahead and make this the first part of the video, and the second part I will be posted tomorrow after this one goes up. I hope everybody enjoyed this, and thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to tune in for part 2. Thank you.